For this one, first we need to get the standard form of the equation. To do that, you have to complete the square. Now, well, actually, hold on. This is a parabola. See how only one of these is squared? So you still have to complete the square, but the process is slightly different. If it was a hyperbola or an ellipse or even a circle, you'd be doing a certain thing. I'll just specify that this is a parabola. For this, what you want to do is get the square term and the other term that's in the same category, like the same variable, but to the first power. These need to be on the same side. The other ones, anything that isn't an x term in this case, needs to go to the other side. Here you can move both of them at one time. You can move the 4y and the 1 at the same time. Or you can do it in steps. And here I'll just do it in steps so that you can see the whole process. Now this is on the other side. And we also want to move the 1. This way the square term and the first power term of the same kind, the same variable, these are both on the same side, and anything that isn't one of them, that isn't an x term in this case, is on the opposite side. And now you complete the square. So there's some ways you can do this. You could do it directly if you want, if you're comfortable with the process of completing the square. Or here, I'll just do it step by step so you can see in detail what's happening. First, all I'm going to do on this step is prepare to complete the square. I'm going to put a plus blank. And if you do it on one side of the equation, you have to do the same thing to the other side. So I have to put a plus blank on the right side as well. And now that's the setup. We don't have to necessarily put the left side in parentheses like you would if it was an ellipse or a hyperbola. You might want to do it in those cases. But here, we can just leave it like this without parentheses for now. What you want to do is find out what the term is that goes in the blank. There are different ways you can do it. Here's one formula that would tell you. That third term, the blank, is the C. And to find C, you take B and you divide it by 2, and you'd square it. So just to go in order, A is this number that we don't see. It's the understood 1. B is the 6, and C is what we're trying to find. So if you use the formula method here, now that we know that the B is the 6, you just put that in the parentheses. And you'd simplify inside the parentheses. This would turn into a 3. And then you'd square it, which makes this a 9. The 9 has to go into this side and this side at the exact same time. So you put a plus 9 on both sides of the equation to keep it balanced. After that, that's it for completing the square. Now, after that, we're going to factor and simplify. The whole process is called completing the square, though, even this step. But we're really doing something else on this next step. And here, all I did was rewrite it, just so that we can see the next step more easily. Now, what you're doing is simplifying the right side. We can say that 9 minus 1 is 8. So this would turn into a 4y plus 8. And we can go a little further and factor this. They both have a GCF of 4. So if you take a 4 out from 4y, all that's left is the y. If you divide 8 by 4, all that's left is 2. And that's it for the right side for now. On the left side, there's a very straightforward way to factor it. We created this trinomial ourselves by creating a perfect square trinomial. So there's actually a very fast way to factor it. What you do is you take the square root of the square term. Or if you want to think about it like this, you get the x squared by multiplying x with x, and so you're putting one of the x's here. That's one way to think about it too. After that, you're taking the b term. You're going to divide the b term by 2, and then you'll put it inside the parentheses. So I'll just change this to emphasize that you want to keep the plus sign with it. So you take the plus 6 divided by 2, that turns into a plus 3, and that's what you put here. It's plus 3. Now that's the equation in standard form. What you have to find out next is the vertex. What you want to think about for the vertex is whatever number is here with the x in parentheses, you take it and you flip the sign and you put it over here. Whatever number is with y in parentheses, you just take that number but you put the opposite sign. So this is the fastest way to find out what the vertex is. There's a more formal way where you can think about it like this. It's x minus the negative 3, and then all of that's being squared. And on this side you have y minus the negative 2. Like where you're undoing the fact that here they both have plus signs. You're undoing that and turning them back into a more standard form. Or you're turning it back into this form where they would actually have minus signs. This is the h, this is the k, and then the vertex is h comma k. And if you do it this way, you'd just be taking it directly as negative 3 and negative 2, because see how you're just taking it directly from the parentheses that it's in. And you can do it this way, but if you're fine with doing it this way, where you just look at the plus 3, you flip the sign to get negative 3, and that you have the plus 2, you flip the sign to get negative 2, this would be the faster way to do it. But either way is correct. So the last thing is to figure out which direction it opens. Now, here's one thing you can narrow down: whether it opens up, down, or left, right. What you have here is an x squared equation. Since the x is squared, this is the kind that it would either open up or down. And then the way you know if it's the up or down is just to look at the coefficient out here. If this is positive, it opens up. If it was negative, it would have opened down. But since it's positive, you could say that this one opens up. And then just to kind of summarize it, if it was the y squared kind, whether it was just y squared or y with some number, I'll just pretend maybe if this equation was actually y plus 3 squared, and then this would either be left or right, then you have to look on the other side. If you have the positive number outside in front of the parentheses, and I'll just switch these around, this is a hypothetical one. It's not what we're doing here, it's just a hypothetical. But here, because the 4 is positive, it would open right. And if it was negative, it would have opened up to the left. And here, I'll just put the plus sign here and the negative sign there. So that's how you can identify this one. And of course, once you have this much information, you can also just graph it really quickly if you want to confirm how it's going to open up